welcome to Aviation Careers Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to answer the question whether you can have music as a side hustle to your flying job. Coming up next. My name is Carl Valeri, and I'm the host of Aviation Careers Podcast. Before we get started, a lot of you are interested in getting that free scholarships guide. Well, first let me tell you how you can do that. Go visit our friends at tailwindwaymakers.org. And what they've done is they've set up a coupon code for you so you can get a free scholarships guide. Tailwind Waymakers is a nonprofit founded in helping you as an aviator to fulfill your dreams. So whether you could use some help funding your aviation training, or if you'd like to win a new airplane, check out tailwindwaymakers.org. Also, Tailwind Waymakers is giving away 50 scholarships guides using the coupon code Tailwind Waymakers. Tailwind Waymakers, go to aviationcareerspodcast.com/scholarships and go get that free scholarships guide. Also, if you want to help pay it forward, feedback at aviationcareerspodcast.com, and we can tell you how you can pay it forward. You know, before we get started on talking about music as a side hustle, we have a couple other emails that came in through feedback at Aviation Careers Podcast. So let's answer those first real quickly, and then we'll go into the main topic here. So the first question, which comes in from the feedback, says this: Dear Sir, I'm a U.S. citizen with a FAA commercial pilot license working with a foreign ATP for an airline for a long time. I have about 1,500 hours of total time with 9,000 hours as P1 time on a jet aircraft. Please let me know the proper steps to get my US FAA ATP to start my new career as a corporate pilot. Best regards. Well, first of all, congratulations on the corporate pilot job. That's awesome. I'm really happy to hear about that. There's a neat little website you can go to as far as verifying your authenticity of your FAA license and your medical certification. And in that whole website, which is on the FAA website, you can actually, and I'll have a link in the show notes, it'll tell you how to go through the process. It's a really fairly simple process, takes a few months to do, so I would get started early in doing that. If you have any other questions, send us an email and we'll talk a little bit more about how you can go about that. So check out that FAA website in the show notes on verifying the authenticity of a foreign license and medical certification. So thanks for the feedback at aviationcareerspodcast.com. Question number 2 says, again, coming from the email feedback at Aviation Careers Podcast, says, hello. First, let me say how much I enjoy your podcast. I find your enthusiasm for aviation and encouragement for those pursuing a career in aviation inspirational. As a 52-year-old male student pilot here in Brisbane, Australia, I listen to various aviation podcasts, mostly U.S.-based, and can't help but be jealous of those in my situation based in the U.S. The aviation industry there is so big, with so many potential opportunities for student pilots chasing their dreams, albeit with a much bigger population of students/pilots competing for those opportunities. With literally thousands of airfields in the U.S. open to general aviation, not to mention commercial and military components, coupled with the infrastructure required to operate and maintain the same, there's a huge potential for aspiring pilots to pursue their dreams. I think sometimes U.S.-based aviation commenters forget just how lucky you have it over there. Contrasting this, for example, here in Australia, which is a vast country with a relatively small population, we have less than 1,000 airfields, with obviously far less of an aviation industry behind it. Nevertheless, I continue to listen to suggestions, ideas, advice offered by you and others to maximize my own opportunities, and who knows where it will take me. Keep up the great work, and thanks for the fantastic podcast. Kind regards. Interestingly, you mentioned the whole Australia. We actually have a special visa here in the U.S. so people can come over with their licenses and actually get jobs here in the U.S. with an Australian license. But you're right, we do sometimes forget about the fact how good we have it here. You know, I fly a lot to other countries. I help a lot of folks from Australia and other countries come to the U.S. To fulfill their goals and their dreams of becoming a pilot, because it is so much less expensive here in the U.S. So I appreciate it, and I'm so glad you brought it up, because sometimes, we don't appreciate what we have here sometimes. But with that said, there's some really cool stuff out there as far as flying around and how to come here from Australia. And I have a link in the show notes. There's a gentleman who did a really good blog post, and he's an aviation attorney down in Australia about flying in the U.S. as a general aviation pilot, but he also has some other information about how it can transfer your licenses here to the U.S. If you notice, between you and also the previous listener mail, want us to know, how would I go about getting my license here in the U.S., and that's because of the fact that there are so many jobs here, and it's so prevalent. It's really a lot easier to get one here and get your licenses here than most places in the world. So I'm glad you said that. As a matter of fact, interestingly, as an aside, I think we don't realize the time that we're in too sometimes. Years ago, it was so difficult just to get a job at a regional airline. The same requirements for a regional are what the requirements are for the majors nowadays. So it sure has changed. So I appreciate that email. Well, anyway, let's move on to the main topic today, and that's talking about music as a side hustle. This comes from actually the contact form we have over at aviationcareerspodcast.com/contact. If you have a question, you want to put that into the contact form, you can. If you do, you can also do it through our feedback at Aviation Careers Podcast. So let me go through his question, and then we'll talk a little bit about music as a side hustle. So he says, "Hello, Carl. Let me start off by saying that I've been listening to your podcast for a few weeks now, and I'm loving it. I listen every day on my morning drive to school and work. It's been interesting to hear all the different topics you discuss in aviation. To give you some background about me, I'm a 21-year-old college student interested in getting into aviation. I've been trying to find my career path for about 2 years now, ever since I graduated high school in 2020. Long story short, COVID pretty much ruined my initial college experience, as everything was far from normal after graduation for quite some time. I started out as a music major on a full scholarship at an out-of-state university, but because of my initial bad experience due to COVID and second thoughts about going into music full-time, moved back home to finish up a more generalized degree while still trying to pursue music on the side. Since moving back home, I was able to successfully audition for a part-time professional symphony orchestra in my city without having a music degree, which most of the musicians have, and have been loving life as an orchestral violinist." That's awesome, by the way. Congratulations. "It has worked out perfectly with my school schedule and my other part-time job, as rehearsals are only in the evenings and concerts are on the weekends and allow for outside full-time employment. Aviation has always been something that has been at the back of my mind. My closest relative in the aviation industry, my aunt, has been a flight attendant for over 35 years. She loves it and always tells me to consider looking into aviation." By the way, I'm just so happy that you have somebody in your life that truly loves aviation and loves flying. And it's neat to have somebody who's a flight attendant who gets to see the aviation world from the perspective of the customer and also customer service. So that's hats off to you to actually talking to your aunt about it. And just, it's a great having that example out there. But anyway, continuing on, he says, "I recently decided to take her advice by booking a discovery flight, and I absolutely loved it. After having shadowed many different careers throughout my 2 years of college, this is the only one that I can say has really inspired me and is something I can see myself doing for the rest of my life. My goal is to be a pilot and have music as my side hustle. You mentioned on your podcast that many pilots have other jobs or businesses outside of flying because of how much time off pilots get. Sounds like this may be a possibility for me, but I wanted to get your take on it. I have talked to a cargo pilot from a mutual connection, the same guy I did my discovery flight with, and he thinks I would be able to hold a music job and be a pilot at the same time. To clarify what my music schedule is like, this is what a typical symphony week looks like for me. Rehearsals 7 to 10 p.m. Tuesday through Friday, and concert on Saturday 7 to 9 p.m. Some weeks are short though. Depending on the type of concert, sometimes only 1 to 2 rehearsals before the weekend concert. We generally only have 1 symphony week a month, sometimes 2. I realize that getting that many consecutive nights off in a row is probably difficult, but I'm hoping that as I build seniority, it'll be easier to manipulate things around my schedule. I am definitely willing to sacrifice some of this at the beginning of my career if I'm not able to do symphony at the beginning of my career. At least I could still do some of my other single-day music gigs like weddings, teaching, and other events on my days off. Sorry for the lengthy message. I totally understand if you don't have time to read all this. We sure do, by the way. I sincerely appreciate any advice you can give me. If you have any time, I look forward to hearing more episodes from your podcast. Thanks so much. I know that was a long read there, but I love the fact that we got into some very specifics about your career, and thanks for sharing that with us. But yes, there are a lot of people that do a side hustle in aviation and in music. So to give you an example, I'd love to have this person on the show. I have an individual that has become a friend who actually has a band, and he plays in a band and makes really decent money playing in that band, but that's the side hustle. The thing is this, it's bridging the gap between where you are now trying to build experience in your music career and also your aviation career. My advice to you and anybody else that's looking to do music as a side hustle or anything else as a side hustle is concentrate on the one thing that's going to be the primary hustle or the primary job, and that would be aviation. Because you always need to build those hours to get to that job, whatever it may be in the airlines or corporate. So let's go into that and put a little more meat around that one. That point being that your schedule, yes, is flexible, but it's flexible for people that are more senior. Me, for example, I have a lot of days off. I take a lot of days off, but on my days off, I'm doing the quote-unquote side hustle, which is the podcast. And just as a caution, a lot of people think, oh, I can just do this and, it's really not going to be that bad. Remember this, when you have a regular job and a side hustle, you wind up sometimes working 7 days a week, and you may not have any days off unless you schedule that time off. And in my case, I work this every single day that I'm not working my other job. So basically, I don't have any days off, but I love doing this, and it's terrific. But you have to give yourself time off, and that's the other point I want to make. Concentrate on the flying is your primary career. Continue doing the music, but also make sure you schedule some time for yourself. I'm on vacation right now, as a matter of fact, and I actually, I love being on vacation right now, and this has been terrific. But I tell you what, one of the things that I think is important is that you also take time for yourself so that you can actually enjoy life and move forward in your life and in your career. So one of the things that I would caution you on with this side hustle in music is that you concentrate on the one thing first and then move into music as that one thing that you want to do later on. But another thing too that's really important, as far as in that career as a musician, that you also make sure you give yourself enough time for rest in any side career. So can you do it? Absolutely, you can do it. You can do the side hustle. You can do whatever it is you want to, but make sure that you do take the time to go out and enjoy life a little bit. So with that said, concentrate on the flying job. Keep doing your side gigs like you said, and continue on what you're doing in the aviation career. So I know you can do it. Hopefully that helps. If you have questions just like this one, feedback at aviationcareerspodcast.com. Hey, if you're looking for one of those free scholarships guides, our sponsor of this podcast, Tailwind Waymakers, they're a nonprofit founded to help fund aviation dreams. So whether you could use some funding to help your aviation training, or you want to try to win a new airplane, check out tailwindwaymakers.org, and also use that coupon code Tailwind Waymakers to get that free scholarships guide. We really do appreciate the folks there at Tailwind Waymakers for giving away those free airplanes, but also for contributing to the scholarships guide. Hopefully this has helped you, but I think the most important thing, whether you're looking at aviation as a career, as a something that you're going to do as your primary job, or if this aviation career becomes your side hustle, concern yourself with one thing, and that's moving forward in the career that's going to be your primary career, and that's probably this one, the aviation one. So make sure that after you hit stop, after you stop listening to this, you don't stop there. You take action now, and you keep moving forward every day toward your career goal. Whether it's researching what those side hustles can be, whether it's researching how you can move into the United States, like those folks we have in other countries that want to come here and get jobs, whatever it may be, it could be writing down goals. Do something for me. Take one step today, to move forward in your career. Well, we'll talk to you next episode. Safe flying out there.